nice ride.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's John Tapp with the Mack R. Uh, this is the going to be the classic truck ride to Dodge City, Kansas. It's going to be for pineapples, uh, and this is going to be under about 1,500 miles. And this is going to be a great fire ride. The last day, oh no, last week the Summer Truck Classics, and so next
Drive safe.
Thursday is going to be the same truck, and then that's it. So we got it, and about 40,000 pounds. Let's go.
Turn left. Finding new route. Reroute. Time to get the job done. Never mind. I'll find a new route.
Okay, here we go. Make sure you put your seatbelt on now. I feel like I'm driving in the devil's chariot. Watch your speed. Keep right, and then turn right. Turn right. Keep right, and then turn right. Turn right. You have arrived to your destination. Your route guidance is now finished. Time to hit the road. Don't you get no credit? you drive safe, you hear? Turn right. Keep right, and then turn right. Turn right. Well, get ready to turn left. Turn left. Keep left, and then turn left.
This programming is sponsored by Hildebrand MBA, UT Austin's Macomb School of Business, offering the weekend MBA at Houston. Applications open August 2025. Details at texasmba.com. Make it here.
Democrats have said the federal government is acting in your best interests, while Republicans have said listen to us at the state level. It really does seem like the tables have turned, that you're now saying people shouldn't necessarily trust the federal government's guidance, trust us, the state appointees, instead.
You may feel that way, but so much has changed in the past 9 months that this feels like a necessity. It feels as if we have to shift in this way. The reason that historically Democrats may have pointed to the federal government and to the guidance is that we couldn't believe in that guidance. We knew that that guidance, those recommendations were based in fact. That's just not the case now. We oftentimes see decisions being made by a tweet or a post on Truth Social, decisions in public health being made by a video posted to YouTube. That's not the system that we've existed in before, so it requires us to change our tactics.
What's at stake? What are the risks here?
I think, if we don't rely on the evidence, if we don't use data to drive our decisions, we will see people get sick. We'll see the health of our communities fail. We'll see our hospitals fill with people who have vaccine-preventable diseases. But I don't think we have to look too far into the future to see that. If we take a look just this past year, what happened in West Texas with the measles outbreak, spreading to many other states in the region and other countries. That's what happens when we don't use evidence and data to drive the recommendation. In the case of measles, we know that the measles vaccine is safe and effective, but that message didn't come clearly from the federal government.
Dr. Robbie Goldstein is Commissioner of the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, a lot of little girls dream about being a mermaid. I mean, I still do, and for a lucky few, living that dream does become real. At Weeki Wachee Springs State Park in Florida, that's about an hour north of Tampa, young women have been performing shows as mermaids since the 1940s. Recently, a group of women who performed back in the 1960s relived their aquatic days. Sky LeBron from member station WUSF was there and has his audio postcard.
Arlene Brooks and Mary Jo McCoy are becoming mermaids again. They're 75 and 76 years old. It's a bit tougher for Brooks to shimmy into her costume these days. How hard is it to put on the tail?
I've got a messed up knee, got messed up stomach, got messed up arm. It's hard.
Okay, now come over here and
But when Brooks and McCoy get back in the water,
It's like you never left. It's magical. It feels like you're at home again. There's a feel to it. There's a lightness. And when you're at my age and at 17, there's really no comparison. But when I get back in that water, it's all there. Every last bit of it. I'm weightless. I'm young. I'm pretty. I'm having a good time.
that good time was thanks to a Wish of a Lifetime program from the AARP, which sponsored 5 former Weeki Wachee mermaids between 75 and 79 years old to see if they still had the chops. Was it easy to get back into the routine? Have you guys done older routines that you did before? Like, what's that all been like?
No routines. We're just trying to see if we remember how to get down, how to hold our breath.
How's it been working so far?
So.
It's harder than you might think. They're swimming in a spring, not a pool. The current they're fighting the entire time. Has there been anything that you've carried through the rest of your lives because of this job and because of this experience?
Got mermaids all over my house. My husband said if I brought another mermaid home, he was going to kill me.
Does that drive to keep on swimming ever stick with you? You ever just want to jump in a lake and be a mermaid again?
I live in Arcadia, Florida, and occasionally I throw my tail on when I'm feeling especially crazy. And I swim around the pool, and everybody comes out and takes a look and says, "Oh yeah, Arlene's a mermaid." I am.
And Brooks told me, once a mermaid, always a mermaid. And after meeting these women, I'm convinced it's true. For NPR News, I'm Sky LeBron in Weeki Wachee, Florida.
Thank you for listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from Progressive. Progressive Commercial Auto Insurance protects the vehicles that work to keep small businesses moving forward, including protection while running errands and other tasks at progressivecommercial.com. From the George Lucas Educational Foundation, creator of Edutopia, dedicated to improving a learning experience for America's students by sharing what works in pre-K through 12 education at edutopia.org. From Odoo, maker of all-in-one management software with the goal of being simple to use for all employees. Learn more about Odoo at odoo.com. And from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation at macfound.org.
This is News 88.7. I'm Brenda Valdivia. Well, tonight's low around 80 degrees. There's a chance of thunderstorms. We're going to start wrapping up around 7 o'clock, mostly clear skies after that. But thunderstorms are slated to return tomorrow around 40 to 50%. Heat index values high is 103. Tomorrow's high around 93. It's currently 89 degrees and mostly cloudy here at the University of Houston with 61% humidity. Support comes from GenPro, a Houston-based home generator service providing power to homes during unexpected outages, helping with connectivity and productivity. More information is available at genpro.com. 69 Southwest southbound at Chimney Rock, 45 north southbound at Airline Drive, and Beltway 8 north eastbound at Greenspoint all have accidents. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. More All Things Considered is coming up. It's now 6 o'clock.
This is a dramatic escalation. This is the assault at independence that many people have been clutching their pearls about.
President Trump is trying to fire a member of the Federal Reserve's governing board. What could that mean for the economy and the Fed?
For Tuesday, August 26th, this is All Things Considered from NPR News. And I'm Elsa Chang. This hour we'll meet a reconstructive surgeon in Lebanon who's helping Gaza children recover from war wounds.
Get more strength from the patients and their families, and therefore always feel that they don't have the luxury for you to give up.
Also, the digital afterlife industry is booming.
Yeah, if you could talk to an AI avatar of a dead relative, would you?
There is powerful rhetoric with a dead bot because it is tapping into all of that emotional longing and vulnerability.
And an 83-year-old lifeguard in New Jersey has been patrolling the shore since he was a teen. Now he's a world record holder.
Now news.
Live from NPR News, I'm Giles Snyder. During a more than 3-hour cabinet meeting today, President Trump highlighted his crime-fighting efforts in the nation's capital and again threatened to send National Guard troops to Democratic-led cities, including Chicago, Baltimore. But Georgetown University law professor Steve Laddick says that could prove to be problematic.
The D.C. National Guard, so the folks who are here in D.C. all year, the president is always the commander-in-chief of the D.C. National Guard. He can use them at any time. He doesn't need anyone's permission. But he's also relied upon loudest National Guard troops that have been sent by a bunch of red state governors under a really obscure and not well-tested authority that was enacted by Congress in 2006. It's really that authority that's a much bigger deal if President Trump really does try to take the show on the road.
Democratic leaders are pushing back, saying Trump's use of Guard troops is a political move meant to intimidate opponents. Transportation Department threatening to withhold millions of dollars in federal funding from 3 western states. NPR's Joel Rose reports the Trump administration aims to punish those states for failing to enforce English language requirements for truckers.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says California, Washington, and New Mexico could lose tens of millions of dollars in federal funding unless they adopt and enforce English language proficiency requirements for commercial drivers. DOT accuses those states of failing to disqualify drivers if they can't demonstrate English proficiency. The move comes after a deadly crash in Florida earlier this month, involving a driver who made an illegal U-turn on a highway. Federal officials say the driver, who was born in India, was in the U.S. illegally, though California officials say he had a work permit. He says California, Washington, and New Mexico have 30 days to comply. Joel Rose, NPR News, Washington.
The Press Freedom Group Reporters Without Borders has called for an emergency UN Security Council meeting after the Israeli army killed 5 more journalists in Gaza. NPR's Eleanor Beardsley reports a Paris-based organization accuses Israel of trying to eliminate information coming from Gaza.
Reporters Without Borders Director General Thibaut Coutin says the Israeli army is flat
Concrete measures must be taken to end the impunity for crimes against journalists, to protect Palestinian journalists, and to open access to the Gaza Strip to all reporters.
This is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Gail DeLutter. Harris County commissioners are looking at a looming budget deficit. Commissioners say they've found ways to balance the budget without cutting essential services. Harris County Judge Lina Hidalgo says it is impossible.
The popular thing for me to do right now would be to join my colleagues who are popping champagne and saying they reduce the deficit without cutting services, but I can't do that with a clean conscience. So I'm here to give the community a reality check.
Commissioners say they're looking at a budget deficit of at least $48 million, but Hidalgo says it appears to be closer to $220 million. Commissioners should take a final vote on the budget next month. After about 2 hours of debate, the Texas House has passed a bill that revamps the STAR assessment test in public schools. News 88.7's Bianca Seward has more on the hearing for House Bill 8.
6 amendments to the bill were debated on the House floor. Dallas area Representative Rafael Anchia successfully pushed for an amendment regarding the cost of rescoring the exams. Currently, the state pays for rescores that result in any changes. House Bill 8 would have changed that, but the amendment now maintains the existing arrangement.
If the school district is right, you don't pay. If the state is right, the school district pays. That's what I'm trying to get back to.
Rescoring comes at the cost of $50 per test, which can become costly to many school districts. Representative Gina Hinojosa of the Austin area argued for an amendment to reduce testing subjects to just what is required federally.
There is too much testing. We can all agree. Some of that, yes, comes from the federal government, but not all of it.
The amendment was not adopted. HB 8 will head to the Senate next. I'm Bianca Seward for News 88.7.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is asking a federal court to vacate the O'Donnell consent decree. It's a first-of-its-kind bail reform practice in Harris County. It settled a class action lawsuit filed against the county. The consent decree allows most misdemeanor defendants to be released from jail before they go on trial without posting a cash bond. Slight chance of rain tonight, overnight low 78. I'm Gail DeLutter, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the Joyce Foundation, committed to advancing racial equity and economic mobility for the next generation in the Great Lakes region. Learn more at joycefdn.org. This is NPR.
Elsa Chang in Culver City, California.
And I'm Ari Shapiro in Washington. President Trump is trying to fire a member of the Federal Reserve's governing board, but Lisa Cook is not going quietly. Cook and her attorneys say Trump has no authority to remove her from the central bank, and they've promised to challenge her dismissal in court. The conflict marks a new chapter in Trump's campaign to wield more control over the central bank. NPR's Scott Horsley is covering this. Hey, Scott.
Hi.
Okay, so Trump said in a social media post last night that he has lost confidence in Lisa Cook. What's the backstory here?
Well, this comes after Bill Pulte, a Trump loyalist who oversees mortgage giants Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, accused Cook of making false statements on a mortgage application 4 years ago. That was before she was appointed to the Fed board by then President Biden. Pulte says Cook applied for home loans weeks apart on 2 different properties in 2 different states, and that she claimed each property would be her primary residence, which usually comes with more favorable loan terms. Now, this is just an allegation. There haven't been any formal charges, but Trump says it's reason enough for him to fire Cook.
We need people that are 100% above board, and it doesn't seem like she was.
But Cook says she's not going anywhere and that she'll continue to carry out her duties at the central bank. For the moment, financial markets are kind of in a holding pattern.
So if the two of them are in this standoff, what happens now?
Cook and her attorney, Abby Lowell, plan to file a lawsuit as early as tomorrow to have this
the Federal Reserve.
Most economists agree that central banks around the world just work better when they're allowed to operate free from political interference. That way they can take the sometimes unpopular steps that are necessary, like raising interest rates to fight inflation.
So what happens if Trump is allowed to fire Cook?
Trump has already picked 2 members of the Fed's governing board, and he's in line to name a 3rd. If he's also allowed to replace Cook, that would give him Trump appointees a majority on the 7-member Fed board. Trump also gets to nominate a new chairman when Jerome Powell's term expires next spring. So all this could be a chance for this very hands-on president to exercise more control over the central bank, and it could potentially spell the end of the Fed's storied independence.
That is NPR's Scott Morsley. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The digital afterlife industry. We're talking about companies managing online identities after death. It's expected to hit close to $80 billion within a decade, and a key driver are AI avatars of the dead, or dead bots. As these simulations grow eerily lifelike, some tech companies see big dollars, but as NPR's Chloe Veltman reports, researchers and others warn of troubling consequences. AI avatars of deceased people are showing up in new and unexpected contexts, including ones where they have the power to persuade. They're giving interviews advocating for tougher gun laws, such as when the family of Joaquin Oliver, a victim of the 2018 Parkland school shooting in Florida, created an avatar of him. They had it speak with journalist Jim Costa in July.
I would like to know what your solution would be for gun violence.
Great question. I believe in a mix of stronger gun control laws, mental health support, and community engagement.
And in May, the family of Chris Pelkey, the deceased victim of a road rage incident, created an avatar of him. It delivered a video statement at the sentencing of the man who fatally shot Pelkey.
To Gabriel Orcasitas, the man who shot me. It is a shame we encountered each other that day in those circumstances.
After hearing the statement, the judge handed down the maximum sentence.
There is powerful rhetoric with a dead bot because it is tapping into all of that emotional longing and vulnerability.
New Yorker cartoonist Amy Kurzweil's work frequently explores technological topics, including her 2023 book, Artificial A Love Story. The graphic memoir recounts how she and her father, inventor and futurist Ray Kurzweil, created a text-based chatbot of her dead grandfather in 2018.
I could feel like I had some communion with his presence.
Kurzweil says more immersive voice and video-based dead bots may have even stronger powers of persuasion. Researchers are concerned they might soon start selling you things. Lindenwood University AI researcher James Hudson is the co-author of several studies about dead bots.
Of course, it will be monetized.
Hudson's work, along with other recent studies such as one from Cambridge University, which highlights the potential for companies to use dead bots to advertise products to users, point to the potential harms of such uses.
If it is perceived as exploitative, right?
But Hudson says the American public has nevertheless been primed to accept the possibility of ads being fed to them through dead bots, whether famous or familiar.
Something that might seem very crass and horrifying today is not going to seem so far-fetched or inappropriate once it becomes normalized and fairly common.
Hudson says, for one thing, the deceased have been promoting products on screen for decades. A digitally manipulated Fred Astaire was careening about in vacuum cleaner commercials way back in the 1990s.
The amazing ultra-swivel glide. Nothing escapes the power of the dirt devil.
For another, Hudson says it hasn't taken long for consumers to begrudgingly accept commercials as part of their paid subscriptions to streamers like Hulu and Netflix. So why not ad-supported dead bots too? Before this can happen, there are legal kinks to work out. Jeffrey Rosenthal is an attorney in Philadelphia specializing in technology and privacy with the law firm Blank Rome LLP.
In America, we're struggling with the privacy rights of the living, let alone the privacy rights of the deceased.
Rosenthal says there are various state laws in the US that recognize a person's right to protect the commercial use of their name, likeness, voice, and other identifying characteristics, even after they're dead. But the current legal framework is overall ill-equipped to handle the harms that might arise from, say, a grandmother dead bot spouting ads at family members.
Who is liable? The software company that developed the digital grandmother? The advertising company that inserted their ad? The company that owns the IP?
Even if the law says it's okay to put ads in Granny Bot's mouth, some dead bot makers aren't quite ready to go there right now.
Why the hell would I want to buy grandma to say anything that's not authentic?
Alex Quinn is the CEO of Authentic Interactions Incorporated, the parent company of dead bot maker Storyfile.
It would really turn me off as a consumer, and I don't think that leaves us with a high level of reputation.
But Quinn
Griffin says he's absolutely interested in seeing if there are other ways to make dead bots ad-friendly.
We can instruct those avatars to actually probe more information. Who's your favorite athlete? What jerseys might be interesting to you?
He says he can also imagine a world where interstitial ads get sprinkled into people's conversations with dead bots, just like how traditional commercial breaks pop up during TV shows. But he'd rather keep GrannyBot out of it. Chloe Veltman, NPR News.
Support for All Tech Considered comes from ARM, committed to delivering innovative, advanced computing designed to enable worldwide companies to unleash the capabilities and experiences of AI. The future of AI is built on ARM. ARM.com.
A big change is coming to online shopping on Friday. That's when a new policy takes effect, suspending what's known as the de minimis rule on international shipments to the U.S. NPR's Bill Chappell explains it's already making waves.
De minimis is Latin, meaning something is trifling or of little importance. For more than 90 years, it let people skip import fees for shipping things of small value. But in 2016, the U.S. sharply raised its de minimis threshold to $800, one of the highest in the world. De minimis shipments now dominate cargo entering the U.S. Think Temu or Etsy vendors. Basically, Americans are
everyone's favorite shopper. That's a great way to put it. Yes.
That's Courtney Griffin of the Consumer Federation of America.
We buy a lot of stuff, and so it does mean it affects everyone as a result.
Griffin says the flood of duty-free packages comes with some risks.
It's created significant product safety concerns because low-value imports are facing minimal customs inspection, making it easier for unsafe or non-compliant product to enter the U.S. market.
Customs and Border Protection says it processes around 4 million de minimis shipments every day. With numbers like that, policymakers are calling the exemption a loophole. People who want to keep the de minimis rule say it gives U.S. consumers low prices, but critics say it favors foreign companies. Here's President Trump speaking about it earlier this year.
It's a big scam going on against our country, against really small businesses, and prevented put an end to it.
Trump says suspending the rule will help the U.S. trade deficit and make it hard to import illegal drugs like fentanyl. An earlier suspension of de minimis focused on China, but this time the new rule is global. With the new policy set to take effect on Friday, international postal and shipping services are suspending delivery of some packages to the U.S. They're trying to figure out two things: how to handle new paperwork for millions of packages, and how to collect money for duties and taxes. The U.S. rule has exceptions. Letters aren't affected, and people can send gifts worth less than $100 to each other. I asked Griffin if she has any advice for consumers.
The first would be, when possible, buy domestically. This would be a route to avoid import fees, potential shipping delays.
She says people should look for changes to retailer shipping and return policies, especially in the upcoming holiday season. Griffin also says to look out for scammers trying to profit off of confusion over the new policy. Bill Chappell, NPR News.
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
This week in This American Life, a man in his car.
Some people also use the pronoun it for the car. I use the pronoun she for her. And people say you are in a relationship with this person.
In the small community where he lives, this guy Ali has the only car, and he
Support for NPR comes from this station and from Fisher Investments. As a fiduciary, Fisher Investments is obligated to act in their clients' best interest. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss. From Easy Cater, committed to helping organizations order and manage food for all their business needs. With online ordering from restaurants nationwide, employee meal programs, and tools to control food expenses at EasyCater.com. And from the Doris Duke Foundation.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Ari Shapiro.
And I'm Elsa Chang. Nearly 2 years into the war in Gaza, UNICEF estimates that more than 50,000 Palestinian children have been killed or injured. Reporter Ari Daniel brings us the story from nearby Lebanon, where a doctor and his team are racing to heal the handful of kids they can reach.
It's clear in an instant. Dr. Ghassan Abu Sitta is just really good with kids. Here at his weekly clinic at the American University of Beirut Medical Center, he's meeting 6-year-old Kenzie Madhoun for the first time. Kenzie has eyes the color of dark chocolate. Her face is framed beneath a pink straw hat that covers a scar above her hairline. On her left hand, I see the drawing of a little heart. Her right arm, though, is missing. Kenzie's dad, Adam Madhoun, brought her here to Lebanon, hoping Abu Sitta and his colleagues can help his daughter have a normal life.
What I wish for is for her to do whatever she wants to do. Like there are games that need to end, or when she wants to wear her clothes, simplest things.
But these simple things will require many complexities. To start with, Dr. Abu Sitta says he's focusing on Kenzie's missing limb.
The biggest question is, how can I improve the quality of that remnant of her upper arm? Because that is the determinant of the quality of the prosthetic that she'll get.
The doctor escorts the father and daughter into an exam room. Kenzie walks confidently with the group of adults. Abu Sitta says that during his assessment, he'll not just be looking at Kenzie as the 6-year-old she is today, but also as the 18-year-old she'll become.
We are trying to reconstruct a moving object, which is the growing body that always outgrows the injury.
And that means multiple surgeries over multiple years. It's work that Abu Sitta has mastered over 3 decades, repairing the wounds of thousands of children like Kenzie, caught in the crossfire of war. He chose this path as a teenager, he says, growing up in Kuwait in a Palestinian family. During the summer of 1982, he remembers watching Israel's invasion of Lebanon on the news.
Seeing medical teams treating the wounded was a strong influence on just wanting to become a doctor, the kind of doctor that I wanted to become.
That is, a reconstructive and plastic surgeon treats those wounded in war.
War injuries are probably the most complex of reconstructive challenges. An explosive will blow the rubble and shrapnel into the body. The wave of the blast devitalizes tissues and kills them, and so that means the whole be removed before you can consider reconstructing the limb.
Over the years, Abu Sitta has treated the wounded in numerous conflicts, but it's in Gaza where Abu Sitta has felt a particular calling to help when violence has flared there over and over again. October 7th was no exception after Hamas-led militants led a surprise attack on communities in southern Israel, killing 1,200 and kidnapping 251 more, according to Israeli authorities. Powerful Israeli retaliatory attacks on Gaza followed.
On the 9th of October, I went into Gaza.
It was shortly thereafter when I first reached Abu Sitta by phone at one of the hospitals in the north. He told me he was hearing shelling every few minutes.
A lot of the wounded are women and children. Sometimes the child is the only survivor. We're about to do another patient with much bigger wound in his thigh, a kind of blast injury. So we're going to need to go take care. Bye-bye.
Abu Sitta says the conditions in Gaza this time were unlike anything he'd ever seen.
It's the difference between a flood and a tsunami. The scale, the intensity, the sheer ferociousness.
There was only so much Abu Sitta could do from the inside, so after 43 days watching the suffering in Gaza, wanting to help, like Doreen Dundashlik, a social activist and former banker.
The fact that you cannot do anything to change what you feel, it's heavy. It's eating us, the helpless feeling. And it's like cancer.
She and a few others knew of Dr. Hassan Abu Sitta, so in partnership with him, they formed a fund in his name with the idea of helping more injured children who made it out of Gaza. Children like Kenzie Madhoun, the 6-year-old with the pink hat. Do you like to dress fashionably?
Yes.
Yes. 2 weeks after October 7th, Kenzie tells me she was sitting in the garden with her grandfather in Deir al-Balah in central Gaza.
We heard things and then we thought it was fireworks, but it wasn't.
It was an airstrike. The force of the explosion propelled her into the air.
The missile took me up.
Kenzie felt like she was flying, like a superhero. When she landed, she lost consciousness. Her father, Adam Madhoun, wasn't with her, but a journalist friend called to tell him of the attack, that Kenzie had been pulled from the rubble.
They told me that Kenzie died.
Madhoun rushed to his daughter and arrived an hour later to discover Kenzie was still alive. Like a phoenix, he says. But she was severely wounded, a fractured pelvis and skull, and a missing arm. Since then,
Stayed together. We've been like twins. I didn't not see her for any day.
Kenzie and her dad managed to leave Gaza, and over the next year and a half, they alternated between Egypt and Turkey for treatment. But it became clear that she needed to see doctors practiced in healing the particular wounds of war. And so Kenzie and her dad arrived in Lebanon to meet with Abu Sitta and his team. Their first meeting was here at his weekly clinic.
And Shuf is a distraction, is a possibility.
Here? Abu Sitta asks his colleagues to order an X-ray of Kenzie's right shoulder because he wants to see if distraction is possible, a procedure that would elongate what's left of her upper arm bone by first fracturing it into 2 parts.
And then you move them away from each other by 1 millimeter every day. And that induces newborn formation.
Ultimately, Abu Sitta's colleague, a world expert in bone distraction here, determines he can give Kenzie a critical 3 extra inches in her stump.
It means that what she will end up with is a prosthesis that doesn't have to be secured to her body through a shoulder